Hello and welcome to the Excel Fundamentals for Modeling module. In this module, we will review key Excel functions which aid in the construction of dynamic financial models. At the core of modeling is the use of Excel's relative and absolute referencing. To build dynamic models, cell referencing is a must since it gives a central area where you can change inputs which run through the entire workbook for the desired output. Excel's default setting is for relative referencing. To display this feature, let's investigate a simple template. The tickers are across row 3 and periods in column C. We have an I-Metrix function call in cell D4 as follows. Equals I-Metrix, bracket, the ticker, which we're using a cell reference, currently D3, comma, STD, which is the data set, stands for standardized, comma, the specific tag we're looking for, operating revenue, comma, the way that we want to display, this is going to be in quarterly format, comma, for the current fiscal year, comma, current fiscal quarter. Notice I've also divided it by 1 million, and each of these I-Metrix function calls works with Excel functionality. If I copy the function call using Control-C, hold my Shift key, and use the right arrow, then Control-V to paste, notice how the relative referencing changes the ticker reference. So if we're looking at the Yahoo function call, we are now referencing G3. Let's say that I wanted to reference the fiscal years in column C. Instead of having FY encoded inside the function call, I will reference C4. If I press Control-C, hold Shift, and copy downwards, we get pound values because our cell referencing is off. Our cell referencing is correct for the fiscal year, but due to the Excel's relative referencing, we are no longer referencing our ticker symbol for Dell. In order to change this correctly, we have to use some absolute referencing. In order to use absolute referencing, which essentially locks either the cell, row, or column, we can click on the argument, add the dollar symbol into the areas that we want to lock, or press the F4 key. If we click the F4 key once, this will lock the cell. We click the F4 key twice, this will lock the row, and F4 key 3 times, this will lock the column. Now, seeing as we have tickers across row 3, we only want to lock the row. In addition, if I copied across, we will no longer be referencing the fiscal years. So we'd want to lock column C as well. Now we've created a generic function call that can be copied across and downwards with proper Excel referencing. We also have a dynamic model, so in case we want to change one of these tickers to IBM, this automatically changes. Now, viewing a simple template, we can see how this can be beneficial. I have some raw inputs for valuation ratios, price to sales, price to book, and PE. The prices are in row 8. The financial statement data is in cells C12 to C14. One other hitch, these are aggregate values and we need to change them to per share amounts. Cell C24 has the shares outstanding used by the 3 valuation ratios. So we want to construct the ratio. To start, we type in C17 the formula. Equals the price, which is in cell C8, divided by, bracket, the aggregate amount for sales, which is in C12, and then divide this by the shares number in cell C24. Close bracket. If we copy this ratio and paste across and downwards, we will retrieve nonsensical values for the rest of the cells. This is because we didn't leverage proper Excel referencing. We have two choices. We can type in this formula inside each of the cells, correct? Or we can modify this so we can just copy it across and downwards. So for instance, we have our prices inside row 8, so we're going to lock row 8. For our fundamental data points, they're inside column C. We're going to lock column C, and our shares amount is in cell C12. So we're going to lock that whole cell, at which point we can copy this across and downwards, and we get the proper valuation ratios. Let's look at some other Excel features. In cell C24, there's a conditional statement, the if statement. The arguments for this function are if something is true, then show this result. Otherwise, show another result. With regards to this example, we want to use the diluted shares outstanding, but if the company does not report diluted shares, then let's use the basic instead. So, if cell C22 is greater than 1, then use cell C22, the diluted shares. Otherwise, use cell C23, which is the basic shares. Another useful feature is the grouping for formatting. Notice these plus/minus bars at the sides of the spreadsheet. Grouping is more beneficial than simply hiding the cells, since it indicates to others that there is additional information. This is important to indicate, as another user may attempt to manipulate the spreadsheet and end up accidentally breaking the model. To use this feature, highlight the row or columns desired for grouping, and go to the Data tab, and then you can select the grouping function. You will now have a collapsible icon at the top of your spreadsheet. Another useful feature is the find command. If I highlight column A, I want to find the row that has the verbiage sales inside. I can click on Control F, type in sales, find next, and it will take us to that row. If we wanted to change sales to the verbiage revenue, we can use the find and replace function, which is Control H, find what sales, and change that to revenue. And click replace. And we can see that has been replaced inside our spreadsheet. The next feature to highlight is pasting the template as values, which allows you to share a workbook with a non-I-Metrix user. Just remember to save your workbook as another name, possibly the same name with the appendage as values. In order to save a workbook as values, first select all the sheets of interest. Click the first sheet, hold the Shift key, and click the last tab of interest. On your primary sheet, at the upper left-hand side, there's a cell which you can click, and it will highlight all data points inside your selected cells. If we right-click, choose Copy, and then right-click again, choose Paste Special as Values, and press OK. We have now taken all the function calls out of the spreadsheet. We can send this to another user, and that will populate. Just remember, when you do this process, you cannot revert back to a function call spreadsheet. This concludes the Excel Fundamentals session. This is a transition module to the Advanced Modeling with I-Metrix tutorial. Thank you.